to face for the first time in the year 2025. May the new year bless all our viewers with health, wealth, and happiness. Much is expected in Sri Lanka in this year 2025 as our country turns a corner and we prepare for full steam ahead with an economic resurgence. Now, with the new year, there's no doubt that a lot of adventures await us, all Sri Lankans, in this year, and a lot of changes will happen in society and, of course, in governance. And one major area is, of course, justice or anti-corruption, as the slogan went. Now, to discuss justice, anti-corruption, national integration, and so much more, we have with us our Minister of Justice and National Integration, Attorney at Law, Harshana Nanayakkara. Welcome, Harshana.
Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you for having me.
And we are starting off the first day of the year with you on Face to Face. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Right. Now, Harshana, you, as the Minister of Justice and National Integration, you have a wide range of areas and a huge responsibility because the whole justice system is under you. And of course, that means a lot of the anti-corruption aspects are under you. And so much has to change because all of that, as we know, has failed the country. The justice system, the courts, the police, although the police doesn't directly come under you, but this entire system is a failure and you need to start changing it, which is easier said than done. But let's start at one end and let me ask you about some of these high-profile arrests that we're seeing over the last couple of weeks, which are good to see, actually. It's a morale booster for a lot of people. We see various politicians and others, so-called VIPs, being summoned to the CID or arrested for various offences. How has this come about? Is it something directly to do with government, or is it that the CID and other arms of justice are now feeling a lot freer to do their jobs?
I think in your question, the last part, there's the answer. That is, the police are free. Law enforcement is free. Nobody's calling them. So now they can carry out their duties without any interference in politics. The first thing we did within a month, the only thing we can do within a month, I think people will understand that we took the government on the 14th of November, and today is just December. So what I did was taking stock of what we have, and the police ministry is doing the investigation side of it. So therefore, what you are seeing is a simple thing of there being no political interferences. And also you wouldn't have seen, for the last 2 months at least, that any government MP or minister or someone involved in some scam or the other, not from our party anyway. So what you can see is that is taking place. But having said that, arrests alone won't be enough. Evidence has to be perused and proper charges have to be brought. But what is missing from us, what was there in the previous government, is that we don't make a big show about what we do because we don't want to be talk shops. Our job is to now deliver. Talking time is over. That was when we were in opposition. Now people expect us to walk the talk, so to say. So therefore, with a lot of difficulties and my ministry and all the ministries, because we never accepted a country which was hunky-dory in any sense of the word. People gave us the country because it was run down. So we knew what we were getting into, and we are very well aware of the challenges. They are being sorted out gradually, but you don't see any VIPs anywhere, right, with armed guards running about, or things are simple, what people wanted, but that alone is not enough. So I think what you're seeing is that political attitude change, but there's a lot has to be done to bring about justice for people. Lot to be done. Lots to be done.
Harshana, let's talk about some of the high-profile cases which people have expectations. Let's say the Lasantha Vikramatunga, the Tajuddin murder, Easter Sunday. There are so many major cases. I mean, I could go on and on for 20 minutes listing the high-profile cases.
I have that 5-year list. I have the list with me.
That's a very long list. We see some progress, some concrete progress, arrests and prosecutions and so on. Is it in the works? Is it going on now? Of course, you can't just suddenly go out and start arresting people. There's a huge process behind it. But is it happening?
It is happening. But now, remember, the Attorney General's Department is an independent arm, although it's under my ministry. And I have no right to give them directions. Only the Parliament can give directions to the AG as well as the President can call. Having said that, they are the ones who have to consider the evidence. And some of these cases are very old and investigations have been concluded. But till about the 14th of November, there was no political will for some of those, I wouldn't call them high-profile cases, I call them some cases we spoke on the stage. They're still there, and I can tell you confidently, matters are being attended to, and there are certain instances where mutual legal assistance is necessary for the Attorney General to get some information from overseas in certain matters. Those things my ministry has intervened and expediting them. And what we want is a proper case, a proper charge. Not a big show, just media fanfare, we file the case, they come arrested with, and then 2 weeks later they go home. Now that we don't want. We want a fair trial for everybody. So I'm sure Attorney General, with all his challenges with his staff and resources, he's doing his level best to speed up the matters, and I believe within this month, you may see some of his efforts. What we want is a fair trial. We promise the people these cases will come. What I'm saying is, these cases should come, right? And when they do, either they should get convicted. If they have not done it, they should get acquitted. There must be closure. Easter, little bit of investigations are going on, but that is also in the pipeline. That I cannot give a timeline, but pretty soon, because that's a promise we made, and we are not keeping any stone unturned to deliver the promise. But we do it in a proper manner, not rushed. It will be done.
Now, Harshana, you spoke about the Attorney General's Department and the challenges. What are the challenges? Why is it that the public's perception of the AG's department is that it seems to have a very low rate of conviction? Investigations seem to get stalled there at the AG's department. What's actually going on?
Now, one of the biggest challenges for our government, to me as the Minister of Justice, is actually bring back credibility to not only the AG's department but the entire system, bringing back credibility. In the past, even when the Attorney General took a decision based on evidence, people suspected it was because so-and-so's case. Now, there could have been those or not, but the perception was far worse than what they actually did. Because the Attorney General, by law, cannot talk to the public. They can only talk to the Parliament. So it's the politicians who should protect their image to begin with. Now, let me put it this way. I think there's roughly about 80,000 police force now. 8,000. Let's assume that 40,000 of them don't do any investigations. Assuming, I'm just trying to make a point. These are not facts. Right? And let's say about 30,000 officers investigate crime. Say 40,000 officers investigate crime. And about 10,000 officers bring cases only to the magistrate court where the Attorney General is not needed. Right? He's not needed there. Right. But then there's 30,000 who will investigate and send cases to the Honorable Attorney General for his guidance and prosecution. And how many officers are there in the AG's department in the criminal side? Less than 200 people have to attend to all that 30,000 files. Believe me, their emotional well-being is at stake. It's not easy to do that. And also, we had a problem of a lot of prosecutors leaving, senior prosecutors leaving with the economic crisis because they have a very good demand in other jurisdictions. Because of the pay tax issues and the cost of living and the economic thing, 28 senior prosecutors have left. Now, let's say that we hire 200 prosecutors tomorrow. Let's say we employ 200. Still, it takes 5 to 6 years to get a good prosecutor who could prosecute the cases which are of complex in nature. Right? So now look at the challenge. On the one hand side, we have to retain the ones who are there. I don't know, I'm just plucking this figure out of there. it can't be more than 50 or 60 individuals who are experienced enough in the department now to handle these cases. So just look at the workload one person has. So now my job is to find a way to make their life job more easier, and also to criticize if I see something wrong. But when their manpower is at that level, retaining them, right? These are the challenges. That's why sometimes there are delays at the AGs Department, right? But yes, sometimes in the past there has been political interferences. But this time is different. Here the government is saying, go ahead, do your job. But we will support with whatever we can. That's why I said it takes time.
In fact, Harshana, on this very show, we have repeatedly warned the previous government that their policies are driving professionals out of this country, and that would lead to a breakdown in many departments.
It happened.
The AGs is just one. I mean, health services was another key area. Education, you can go on and on. So that's what's coming back to bite us now, isn't it?
Yes, because if you look at now, for an example, I have 24 departments under me. So I took stock of all the 24 departments. Mind-boggling, but I did. There's a serious problem. Prisons are coming under us, as you know, that there's massive overcrowding in prisons, right? And most of them are drug offenders, massive amounts. I've got the figures with me here. I'm just trying to give you a point. The overcrowding in the prison system is about 265%. Basically,
265%.
Because see, everything is designed for only 10,395 inmates. Right now, at the end of 2023, there are 28,760.
So you have facilities for 10,000 and you
occupied by almost
28,000.
Yeah. So what has happened here now? Drug offences. Because the government analyst reports are getting late, about 7,000 or more than that are drug offenders. So I speak to the government analyst department. I say, like, why are they getting late? This is why they can't go. The government analyst report is not there. They say, we are short of 37 people, no recruitment for the last 2 years. So they say, how can we do, sir? I said, how can we solve it? So now finally I am hoping to get cabinet approval to get at least 16 or 18, because they said they can run the show. So I just gave you one example. This is not an excuse not to do the work. We are working. We are working. I mean, these are challenges. We don't call them obstacles also. So you have to get them in. So you take the prisons, about 1,300 less. So there are problems. There are serious problems. And when we are recruiting new, government purse is not in the best of shapes.
Absolutely.
So we have to prioritize what we do, but it will be done.
What about the court system? Now, the cases are delayed for years, sometimes for decades. I mean, civil cases certainly for decades, but even criminal cases take far too long. When you compare with some of the other countries, other democracies, where you get convictions in a few months' time at most. But in Sri Lanka, you don't get convictions in a few months. It always takes years, even after it reaches the court. What needs to be streamlined here, and who needs to do it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, on that question alone, Niresh, I can do a 1-hour program with you, but I'll try to be brief, right? Criminal delays and the bottlenecks, we need a different treatment, but civil cases are a different treatment. Now, the Judicial Service Commission is the one who runs the judiciary, and the process is there. Now, this blocking and everything that came, it didn't come overnight. It happened over a few years or decades of negligence and not doing proper, because when the crowds are expanding, when the population is increasing, when the new laws are coming, you have to keep on updating. Now, courts are they are always work in progress, courts, right? Now, the Ministry of Justice started building new courthouses, expanding the Supreme Court, right? To get more judges, to more work. But the problem was, right throughout, we are reactionary. We should be able to plan 5 years ahead and get ready. Instead, we wait till things are so up there and they say, oh, let's open up a new courthouse. And by the time you do that courthouse, predictions have all gone wrong again, right? And secondly, having a courthouse alone won't be enough. You need staff to run them. And the short of staff situation is a serious problem that we have to recruit, right? And then practices in the courthouses. You have to manage the courthouse.
Yes.
So now we are going for some digitalization projects, and we are bringing 2 laws which will help to prevent
What
the
are
delays.
those laws?
For an example, one of the main reasons why the cases are going down, getting postponed, especially in trials, is that the accused is not there or witness is not there. So we are bringing an amendment to the Civil Procedure Code as well as the Criminal Procedure Code, where audio-visual link can be used. So even if that person can't come in another country, abroad, there's a process where the case won't get moved out, but instead it can be heard. So that will be less when it comes to a civil case, you can have your expert witness elsewhere. And also to serve summons via email to expert witnesses. So these are little things. So, but little things put together, digitalizing, will minimize some of the delays. But believe me, if you ask me, what is the answer for this? I don't have a complete answer for it, but I intend within the next year, because there's so much research has gone on. JSC has done the research, Judicial Service Commission, people. But that research is all over, how to attack the delays. So now what we need is put them together, come up with a plan within the next year. This was my first move. My first move for this year, I'm telling you, right? In about 6 months' time, if you call me again, I will tell you exactly what I'm going to do. My first move is call back these committees, look at those reports, and start at least 1 courthouse at a time to unblock, because these delays is a curse to the common man and the public. How many times they go to the courthouse? Does the courthouse have a proper toilet for them to go? Where's the customer service? There's no customer service in our courthouses. They're not designed for service, but they're living on taxpayers' money. So I would like to see the courthouses. I'm not going to point my finger at any one place or one person. Oh, they are messing it up. They are messing it up. No. See, entire system. Firstly, lack of resources. Even when there are resources, the attitude, right? And also not hearing out what the judges and the court staff say. Their salary scales, especially court staff. We are unable to retain good people. They are leaving. Judges I don't know much about, so I'm not going to talk. I'm talking about the court staff. A judge being there is not enough. You need the steno, you need the mudliya, you need other staff. So a complete revamping necessary, but the system has been run down for a few decades. So I'm asking at least to come up with a good plan. I need 3 to 4 months to come up with a plan. But believe me, I'm no expert in any of these, but there are a lot of lawyers and academics and professionals like judges who really feel for this country. There are Attorney General Department who feel for this place. And I'm sure they are the ones who will help me, not me, rather help the country to rid this mess. And my job is to make sure that I give the guidance whenever they come up with their solutions. But we are going to work on it.
Right. Then I want to ask you about the idea was mooted by several political parties during the campaigns of a special public prosecutor who would be more independent than the Attorney General's Department. What's the status of that? Is it going ahead? Because everyone seemed to agree that it is a good idea, a department which would not be swayed at all by politics. That seemed like the best idea. But how would that process go ahead?
Thank you for asking that, because it was there in our mandate to our policy document, NPP policy document. We call it Director of Public Prosecution. That means a separate arm for the purpose of prosecution, who will be issued with a prosecution guideline. And for them, what matters is not the government policy or stance, if there's enough evidence to prosecute cases, like cases to be treated alike. And also then they will only focus on prosecution. Now, this is something that you find in the Crown Prosecution Service in England and all other places in developed jurisdictions. I have spoken with, I don't want to talk it right now because no formal talks have begun. But once when I had a discussion, official discussion with the Honourable Attorney General, I asked him, because I know he's struggling with manpower, with strength, right? Just because cases are delayed, not because he's lazy, but there are serious, genuine problems. So on a policy basis, AG thought it was a good idea to come up with it, but I have not started formal discussions on it. As you know, that it's been a month. So I think one of the other things I will start initially is to come up with a proper framework in consultation with the Attorney General and other stakeholders such as the judges and there are other stakeholders. And also
Absolutely.
possible to decentralize it. Because see, if you can go to either provinces or districts, see, otherwise the police in Polonnaruwa has to come all the way to Colombo to meet the AG and the get advice and everything. But if we can decentralize the prosecution service, we keep the AG separately. AG's office will be there for advising government on policy, advice and defending government on certain legal matters. But criminal prosecution will be done then decentralized, but which means a massive amount of resources are going to be needed. So on a policy basis, nobody's objecting to it, but I have not been able to start a proper discourse on that, not yet.
But during this year, we'll definitely see some progress on that.
Yes, definitely, because I intend to at least formulate the committees and discuss with the relevant stakeholders a way to go forward. Because remember, countries, we are only going to run it for 5 years. Not everything is going to happen in 5 years either. So, but at least we have to take an initiative, put the groundwork, right, for the future generations to carry on. And this one, I'll definitely put the groundwork on it.
Now, Harshana, another key area which affects the public directly every day is bribery and corruption, and we have the commission for that. I think since the mid-90s we've had the commission on bribery and corruption. But over the years, repeatedly we were told not enough manpower, not enough vehicles, not enough equipment, not enough training. Basically, there seemed to be almost a sinister move to rob this commission of its resources, and then of course it can't do its work. And we have had very few high-profile cases coming out of that commission. So it became something of a scandal that a peon or a school principal would be prosecuted, but never anybody in that VIP category. It didn't seem to happen, and there were always these excuses. So what are you going to do to give them those resources so that then no excuses, they have to work?
Yeah. The Bribery Commission is an independent commission, so it is not under my direction. But as government, in a holistic approach, the Bribery Commission is one of our main places. And what you said all was very true. It was true about the CIABOC as well as the AGs Department, the perception of people. Why was that perception there? That is because there was actually political interference. Look at the number of cases withdrawn by the Bribery Commission on technical grounds and not refiling. Large numbers. And they were high-profile cases, as you would have put it. But what has ceased to happen is the political interference has now stopped. But still, the machinery has to run to get the results. True, CIABOC doesn't have resources. So does an AG, prisons, and governmentally. That's a different story. But we got to work with what we have. So that's why as a minister, I think all my other colleagues also, in our ministry, we know that we don't have a big kitty in the government to get all the needs done. But we are prioritizing and working, getting one step ahead. Now, all this time, now it's acting Director General now at the bribery. Now, I believe before the 7th of January, a new Director General will be appointed. And believe me,
that of course has to go through Parliament and
the Constitutional Council. I
yes.
think the process is going on. We don't interfere on that. But our biggest mandate for this government came from public for what reason? Actually, not for economics. They said, stop corruption, prosecute offenders, stop bribery. That is our mandate. Now, we fail to deliver on that. There's no chance for us. People did not ask jobs from us. They did not ask for permits from us. They wanted this category called VIP now doesn't exist. So there will be anything called VIP cases. Everybody will be done for, rule of law. But we need a little more time. Challenges are many. Because remember, although we took the government, Nilesh, the government service is a different ball game altogether. So little by little, we have to convince them people have changed. And I believe my ministry and the Ministry of Law and Order and Finance are the three most important ministries for the first 1 year, which will deliver, but need a little more time. But people can be rest assured. Now there are no VIPs. Now people will be arrested. No criminal will ever be protected. Not anymore. People can work now. Officers can arrest now. You do your job. But if we think we are not doing your job, then of course we'll take whatever necessary steps constitutionally to get that matter sorted out. But we do not. We have a massive mandate of 2/3. We are powerful. But we don't flaunt it. We follow the rule of law because that is the biggest strength we have.
Now, Harshana, with the budget coming up in a couple of months, which will be a very crucial budget, there's still certainly not enough money, but at the same time, so much has to be done by many ministries. I mean, whether it's the health ministry or the education or justice, there's so much that needs to be overhauled, so you need money for this. What's the plan? How are you going to cut down on, when I say you, the entire cabinet, how is it going to cut down on those extravagant areas, which will of course mean that certain budgets will have to be reduced, and then that money can be put to better use. So is there a definite plan to get this going?
Yes. Now, for an example, just cutting down expenditure will not help. We have to bring in new investors. The economy has to move forward, and at the same time we have to provide relief to people, which we are doing with this budget. You would have seen the pay tax as well as some tax on VAT, but while staying within the IMF framework. As you know, we said we will renegotiate, and we did whatever we can. But the thing is, on the 19th of September, just 2 days before the presidential election, they sign an agreement and bind us to it. We are quite happy with the IMF targets that has been given. The primary surplus, what you have to keep, those are good moves. So now our thing is to reduce the pain on the people and give whatever the relief, and also to sort out their day-to-day problems. Garbage needs to be collected, potholes need to be fixed. Now, Clean Sri Lanka is a project that started today in the morning. It was launched, aiming at the grassroots level, not just roads and things like that, but also attitude of the people. That means, see, we can install a traffic light near a junction, but when it's red, if you're going to look the both sides and the cop is not there, you go. Us installing a traffic light won't help to solve the problem. So it's a people also need to change. So Clean Sri Lanka is about not just physical change in the country, but
it's a social revolution.
It's a social revolution where we are, see, now in foreign countries, don't they open and hold the door for you while you walk through? If you're in a rush, won't they like move aside and let you go first?
Absolutely. Yes.
Won't they smile and say good morning? But look at our people and their faces, right? So therefore, what we are going to do, the government has changed. We are very well aware of all the problems we have. Our job is to prioritize. Prioritize. The government will never have enough money for all the projects. Prioritize. And the government is setting the example by cutting down expenditure. Some government servants are unhappy when we cut down some of them. So there's resistance, right? But
then government servants need to get on board, and they know that, because when you look at the results of the postal voting at both of the elections, the government servants voted overwhelmingly for the NPP. In fact, in a greater proportion than the general public. So they know what's coming, they want the change, and they need to make those individual changes.
They are, not that they are not, but in every system, there are certain places, certain individuals. They know things have changed. They know they have to change. They are still sniffing us around sometimes. But believe me, they will do their job. It is time that the country, now I could be the Minister of Justice, another guy could be my driver, so to speak. But both of us have an important role to play. So every person, from the guy who sweeps my office to me and President, we are all the same. We have one mission. We got to get this country out. But our attitude is, everybody wants their pound of flesh. Our cabinet, our MPs have said, we ask for nothing. We are social workers. We are working. It will happen. It will happen. So this Clean Sri Lanka program, which started today in the morning, you would have seen live, is about getting to the grassroots levels, attend to their day-to-day problems, And ultimately bringing a citizen who has empathy, who feels for another citizen. Without that, money alone won't help a country to thrive now. If we then take Japan for an example, one of the most developed, they have so much of money. But look at the number of suicides in Japan, highest. So they can't be that happy. So happiness to people come from both sides. We will do our part and we are expecting citizens will follow their bit, and majority who voted for us are patiently waiting. They know 2 months is not enough. They're giving us time to deliver, and they've given us 5 years. So how we get elected after the next 5 years, it depends on how we deliver their promises. So that's why we want to talk less in TV shows as much as possible, but actually to do our work, a job of work, because next time people won't forgive us unless we take this country from here, not to a perfect place, but far better than what we have now. And I promise you, Nilesh, at the end of the 5 years, this country will be not heaven or without problems. There'll be problems, but 10 times better than what they gave us in 2024.
Well, we certainly hope so, and we'll be looking forward to that. And I hope that in 5 years' time, you and I will be having that conversation
again. And if you have messed up, I'll tell you, yeah, Nilesh, we got it all wrong in this place.
Okay, we have to cross over for a short commercial break right now. We are in conversation with our Minister of Justice and National Integration, Harshana Nanayakkara. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
ජාතික මෙහෙවරින් අපි කතා බහ කරන්නේ පුරුෂ පාර්ශවයට කාන්තා පාර්ශවයට වෙනසක් නැතුව ආයුර්වේදයට අනුව ලස්සන වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
හොඳම මොයිස්චරයිස් එක තමයි කොමඩු.
යම්කිසි වයස් මට්ටම් වලට පැමිණෙනකොට ඇතිවෙන බෝන් නොවන රෝග තත්ත්වයන් තුලදී කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ඇස ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ?
බහුලවම අන්ධභාවයට පත්වන රෝගී තත්ත්ව ගත්තොත් ඇත්තටම ලෝකේ ලංකාවේ දෙකම නම්බර් 1 ඇත්තටම තියෙන සුද ඇහි සුද.
නිරාමිෂ සිතුවිලි වලින් තමයි පිබිදෙන්නේ. ඒ වුණාට ප්‍රශ්නේ ටික වෙලාවක් යනකොට වෙනස් පැත්තකට යන්න පුළුවන්.
මූලික අරමුණ සියදිවි හානි වැළැක්වීම වුණාට ඕනම කෙනෙකුට ඕනම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඕනම ගැටලුවක් ගැන කතා කරන්න අපිත් එක්ක යොමු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are in conversation with our Minister of Justice and National Integration, Harshana Nanayakkara. Now, Harshana, I'm very glad to have seen when you drove in today, it was just you in one vehicle with your driver, and no big flashy Defenders and double cabs and, 7-8 vehicles. It was very refreshing to see a minister in such an important cabinet portfolio, behaving as before. So well done on
we have a president who set an example. So all my cabinet colleagues and I are the same. We are just doing a job.
Well, as a member of the public who never moved for any convoy, much to the dismay of many politicians, I'm very glad that I don't have to do that anymore, because there are no convoys. Right, now, the scourge of narcotics, drugs. Harshana, this is a huge cancer. Back in our younger days, this wasn't a problem. There were, a little bit of cannabis, ganja. The Kasipu menace was there, but it was manageable. But now the younger generation it's being held hostage by this ice and heroin and cocaine and goodness knows what. What's the plan here? And it's not just about justice. It's not just about, prosecuting people. We need something a greater societal plan to tackle this.
Absolutely. As I said, modern day countries are not just run on gut reactions or fancies. Modern countries should run on data, planning, policy. And when you say data planning policy, not just for your survival for the year, but what is our plan in the next 5 years? So you have to have the criminologists or experts working, predicting social trends. So in that way, you can come up with laws or policies or systems before the problem actually jumps out at us. Now, this drug problem is nothing new, right? It's very old. One of the reasons we were unable to curtail it was that involvement of politicians in the past, because all the drugs except for cannabis, I would say most of the drugs are coming through the sea and the airport. Now, we had an army who was capable of stopping the LTT armed deliveries. I mean, that's how we, finished the war also. But suddenly, these drugs which are coming on small fishing boats at a very slow speed, we are unable to prevent. So we know what's going on, and there are some drug cartels here, and we are taking steps. You would have seen our president, Mr. Nanayakkara. We spoke about the airport and the arrangements, and we are aware that drug cartels operate within prisons, and there are certain steps will have to be taken. When the cartels are inside, the big one, the middle layer is operating, right? Middle layer is operating. So certain places and certain strategies have been thought of. This is what I heard. I think I'm correct on this one. Even if you completely seal off drugs in this country, now today, which cannot be done completely, we're done. Still there's enough ice and drugs in the market for 1.5 years. Involvement of public officers, including prison staff, in the cartel. So certain strategies have been implemented. We have understood the problem, and the government servants we spoke with, especially I must say the big chairs, they did not come and lie. They said, yes sir, there is that problem. And they said, this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason. So now our job is to, on the one side, to eliminate those reasons. Secondly, the user of a drug, we consider that as a health problem. For that, he needs a different approach. He needs to be rehabilitated. If you look at my statistical prisons, there are so many users who are repeat offenders, keep on coming inside so many times. So that means they are not being rehabilitated in any way. So they need those who use drugs in smaller quantities. It's a more of a health issue, and it has to be approached in that mindset. But the other one is a crime. So right now, steps have been taken. We believe within about a year or two, people will begin to feel the results of it.
And it's been a problem which has built up over the years, over the decades. I mean, and it has led to the deterioration of society, and also violent crime has continuously increased because of that. I think many of the murders, and definitely almost all of the murders where firearms are used, are basically done by these cartels.
Powerful underworld, they are being identified, and
yes,
steps are taken.
Yes, I mean, it's not too difficult to identify them either, because this is Sri Lanka. We have a very nosy set of people in this country. You know what your neighbors are doing, what they're up to. If they're brewing Kasipu next door, you know it.
Kasipu, yes. Kasipu, yes. But drugs are very different. They look so respected in the society they live in. They're the ones who are in the church Sunday morning first thing. Evidence is necessary, and believe me, I am unable to see. You remember with the previous governments, they have this Yuktiya Mehum and that Mehum and everything. That's just a show. If you really want to do something, you're not going to announce so that you're going to arrest people. What will happen now? Yuktiya Mehum was, we are having this Mehum to catch the drug people in this area. So are they going to keep the drugs with them when they've been given notice that the Yuktiya Mehum is coming through? They won't.
In fact, isn't it illegal for police, for the police department to be warning the suspects that they're going to be arrested the next year?
It's more than illegal. It's more of a joke, isn't it? I mean, a special operation could last for 48 hours, 1 week, something limited purpose.
Yeah.
This operation went on for a year. It is not a special operation. It's law and order. Police are supposed to do that. Although we have not spoken much, we have taken so many decisions with regard to police officers who have been interdicted because of these issues. But we don't make a big scene out of it. There's no need, because people don't need shows anymore, Niresh. They want to see results. And there are some certain actions that we will take with regard to drugs, they don't need to be discussed, not in public.
But things are happening.
They are. And you will only feel the results in about a year or two. So let's hope and pray.
Right. What about the rights of victims and the protection of witnesses? Now, we have legislation, but it never seemed to happen in practice. If you're a witness or a victim, you ran the risk, a very high risk of being victimized once again, because you'd be threatened and you might even be killed. So what is the status of this? Because if the AGs Department and the courts can't find enough witnesses, then the cases are going to fall apart.
Well, again, see, I may be the Minister of Justice, but I am not viewing any of this problem in a compartmentalized manner. It's a holistic approach. We do have legislation. It's better to have a legislation than none at all.
Absolutely.
So the better to have, because only when the legislation is there, we can push people to practice it. We can't get people to adhere to something that does not exist. So if you ask me, is it robust implementation? Maybe we'll have a dispute. We'll have a different opinion on that. But the law is important. Having said that, why are they being victimized? The threats, it happens every day with every case. Then the magistrate has the power to take action, protection orders, and those things are there. But like everything else in this country, that is also malfunctioning. So because, now for an example, you commit a crime, say, again you get, say, a woman, a little girl get raped on the 1st of January in 2000, right? Let's say 1st of January 2000. Now, the best safety for that girl would be quick prosecution, finish off that case. But what has happened now, by the time she gives evidence, is 2010. And that child won't even remember most of the evidence because it's been 10 years. And if the child is about 10, by the time they give evidence, they'll be about 18 or 19. That's one of the main reasons, the delays, that is causing less conviction rate in this country. We have identified. So all things are connected to what? Lack of rule of law implementation. It is true for criminal cases, civil cases, even if it is not a justice subject. Let's say you're just in the fisheries. Lack of rule of law apply to that as well. So this country, it has collapsed. We are lifting it up. We are lifting it up, one at a time, one at a time.
Now, what you said is quite correct, because if you're a victim or a witness and your case is going to take 10 or 15 years, then your life is at risk from the perpetrators for that much longer. So, you know, if you're a witness especially, you might be tempted to turn the other way and say, I'm not going to get involved because I'll be in trouble with these people. So I never saw anything.
See, this is why laws delays, the previous what we spoke of, cases getting late, people getting frustrated, angry, all this is the reason. See, as you can see, is the delay that is causing. I told you within this year, my biggest project will be to figure out how to remove these bottlenecks in the system with resources and attitudes and practices. Harshana Nanayakkara can't do it alone. But I know I have enough committed people in the judiciary, enough committed colleagues in the legal profession who will help me out. Because we are working for this. But all these are, if you really look at lack of rule of law and laws delays, are causing almost all the hullabaloo.
But chain reaction.
Chain reaction. But it will take another 3 or 4 months or maybe 6 months for people to realize you commit a crime, no politician is going to come and save you. The moment that message filters down through, you will see a reduction. But still, they think there'll be someone. They're trying. But now recently, as you see, a particular foreign scam money thingy, a particular former minister left the country, if I'm not mistaken. Now those days they wouldn't be leaving now, would they?
You're quite correct. They would be
they will still, yeah,
working their network and
making press statements saying I'm being politically victimized. But this time around, they don't want to stay. So they're right. They shouldn't be staying.
Excellent news. On the justice side, now let's turn to your other portfolio, national integration. And this has been something of a political football ever since the war ended. Very little has been done. we have had various departments, commissions, and so on. But in the end, to the people throughout the country where it matters, the integration hasn't happened, and we need to behave and think as Sri Lankans. But of course, our political leaders in the past sort of divided and ruled. So that was their policy. If we had all come together much earlier, then they wouldn't have been able to mess up the country as they did. So what steps are you trying to take or planning on taking with regard to this national integration, which is, it's a huge problem, and it's not something you're going to solve overnight or even in a year or two, but it has to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Now, under the national integration side, I have my deputy minister, Mr. Munir Mulafar is my deputy there. There are like four establishments. The ONUR, that is the Office for National Unity and Reconciliation, ONUR, OR, Office for Reparation, OMP, Office for Missing Persons, and also languages have come there now. Now, if you look at why didn't they function? Because there was never a mandate for national unity. In 2019, when Gotabaya Rajapaksa won, he said categorically, I won with Sinhala votes. So, when there's no political will, these are just institutions housing few bodies and paying them salaries. So, they operate for a different, with lack of political will. But look at our mandate. For the first time, a national political party has won the north, the east, south and the west. So, what the message there? Message is what AKD and we gave. National unity and reconciliation. During elections when they came, and you know how it is, always politics, a Tamil party from the north will say, you give us these minister portfolios, we will help you getting these votes. East, same. And those same people came to us. I said, nothing to it. We are not going to be divided that way. We'd rather lose than being divided. Right? And they said, if you tell that you're going to do this with the 13th Amendment, we will get your voter base from here. Nothing to it. NPP will contest. And the people of the north, they trusted us. People in the east, they trusted us. Now we have to deliver on the trust. So national integration becomes extremely important. Extremely important. To win the trust back again. People don't trust these institutions anymore. Right? But the people of the north have trusted us. It's easy for us. This is the center of our mandate. I have the national languages with me. Why? Language is the key. Language is the key. When you go to a simple thing, if you go to an office in Colombo, a Tamil person asks for a form to be filled in, it's only in Sinhalese. How does that person feel? So, when you say Tamil and Muslim or other ethnic group, I'm not talking just about the north. Because the Tamil person living in Colombo also need a form to be filled in Tamil. It's attitudinal, signposting. As you rightly pointed out, it's going to take a long time. But fortunately, this area, UN and our international friends are quite happy and willing to share their expertise and knowledge and resources with us to empower us. And I'll be planning by the end of January the complete year plan with the help of experts from all areas, and to have this thing, because as you rightly pointed out, laws alone will not make people safe. Unity comes when the hearts and minds meet. So there'll be cultural activities, social activities to win back the trust of our brothers in the north. They extended their hand. They told, you can win the north, here you are. And they were Tamil people. Right? East won. They were Muslim people. Even in Colombo, large numbers. So now they have, for the first time, they trust a government. They don't call it a single government. No. They call us our government. Now, the responsibility on my ministry is very serious when it comes to national integration. And we will deliver. You will see it happening.
Excellent news indeed. And I'm afraid we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I have one more very serious question for you. Now, in this country, we have many sites of mass graves, both in the north, the east, and even in Colombo, in the south, and so on. So it's not about ethnicity, but it is something which has been a festering wound for decades. You can go back to 88, 89, so many people disappeared. There were commissions which identified and so on the victims. And then, of course, you had in the north and the east so many massacres and mass graves and so on. Then you had a mass grave in Matale, Suryakanda and so on. And even a few months ago here in the port of Colombo, where the work was going on for the expressway, and lo and behold, there's some some skeletons there.
I'm sorry, I should not be asking this question because I'm the minister, but did they put an age to that finding? Age, I mean, the time period of those graves? I don't think so. No, they didn't come up with a time period.
Well, that is one of the most contentious points, isn't it?
Yeah, because see, what if it's the Portuguese period? That's why I wanted to know.
Yes.
Sorry, it's not your fault. I should have done my research before this question. But I see, whenever you have some grave. Okay, I'm sorry, you finish your question, sir.
Yeah. So one of these issues, and I'm glad you mentioned about the age of it. That's easily solvable with the carbon dating and so on. And we seem to get that wrong as well. The Matale grave and the Mana grave. There are questions, even though the dating was done, then there are a lot of questions about was it done properly, because again, there's two schools of thought, that it was centuries old or it was from the 80s or the 90s, and who was doing the testing. But in all this, the rights of the victims' families have been largely forgotten. If you talk about Suryakanda, Emily Pittier and so on, those mothers and fathers and children are still waiting for closure. And you mentioned that word earlier, closure. It's not about prosecution per se. Closure. It's about knowing that yes, my loved one's remains have been found, and it's closure, because there are thousands of loved ones, family members, who are still waiting in hope. And this is, it spreads to all communities. There's even a mass grave in the eastern province of 678 policemen who were massacred in 1990. But nothing has ever been done about that. The grave was discovered during President Kumaratunga's administration, but you don't even have a marker at any of these graves saying this was the site of a mass grave. I went up to Suryakanda a couple of years ago, and you can't even find the mass grave right now. So is there a plan to bring closure to all these thousands of people?
We have to, because you see, one of the main reasons why people are frustrated, especially about missing persons during the war, they need answers. They need an answer, not necessarily compensation. Some of them, when we try to give the compensation, they don't want to accept it. Why? They feel then we will wash our hands off from this, right? And one of the reasons for the frustration is that there were so many commission after commission after commission. These people kept on having to go and tell their stories so many times over.
And
right?
Nothing concrete
happened. But what they don't realize, it is because of those consultations and commissions, the OMP office even became to be established, which should have happened faster, right? So about these mass graves, I will not comment now because I have not done any of my research on that area, but I will definitely see. But I can assure this much, especially the closure part, it has to be done. But here also you have to be careful with the political needs also of some certain elements. What the Tamil people or the people in 8889, because missing persons are not just Tamil people, okay? Even in 8889, they are missing people, even they need justice, yes. Right? While trying to do that, there are certain elements operating to rekindle some of the good old racism back again. We have to be careful. Now look at this Mahaviru Samaruma thingy that went a couple of months ago, which something never happened in Jaffna. But you look at the amount of videos that went around saying, oh, they are doing it again, the LTD is coming up again. So While we have to
scaremongering.
Why? Because they thought we might ban them celebrating. I said no. Every person has the right to celebrate their death. That's the oldest custom. That custom is older than a country. So we can't not to touch that, right? But then some politicians in the north lost their slogan. Some politicians in the south lost their slogan. As a result of which they created this fake story. And if we did not react to that, the next would have been a poster campaign. Next would have been a pargaman of sorts. So while addressing the genuine concerns to bring closure to the people, we have to be careful with politics also. But forget the politics. As I told you, by the end of this month, we are working on certain plans, and thank you for raising this, because this will be paramount in my mind. Believe me, we are not going to ask forever and ever to sort these things. We will bring the trust back again. It is very important to us. They trusted us already. Now we have to reciprocate, and we'll do so.
Well, I'm afraid we are out of time. How about a final message from you to the public on these issues of justice and national integration, today being the first of the new year?
You have very high expectations of us. That's very good. Keep it up that way, because we are going to deliver. Not just me. I'm not alone. We have an entire set of colleagues who are working in every ministry, probably like 12 to 18 hours a day sometimes. We will deliver. Things are hard. There are stumbling blocks. There are people who are trying to derail us. But our strength is you. This year, you will see positive change. And we will change it. But perhaps not at the speed you expect us to do. But it will be done. So keep on supporting us by watching us and trusting us and criticizing us when we are wrong. It's very important for you to criticize us. If you love us, criticize us. Get us on the right track. We are on the right track. If you feel we are not on the right track, put it on the track. But it will be done. But we need a little bit of time. Without the time, we cannot deliver most of these things. And also wish you and everyone who's watching a very happy new year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration. And from all of us at Newsfirst, and especially the face-to-face team, all the very best for 2025. We'll see you again tomorrow, of course. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.